Happy holiday weekend, Penn State football fans. The Nittany Lions kick off Memorial Day weekend with a commitment from a player on the offensive side of the ball that I think you're going to really enjoy by the time we're done talking about him. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. I'm here with Ryan Snyder. Like the video, subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Always helps us out with, the almighty algorithm. So, Ryan, got to get right to it because there's a lot going on this weekend. Who is the latest Nittany Lion?
Yeah, Penn State picks up its second tight end in the 2027 class with the addition of Currie. 6'7", 235. We're going to come back to that number because it's an important part. Right now, ranked about 514 in the country. Puts him about mid-tier in Penn State's class. 28th ranked tight end according to the industry rankings. Currie's recruit. It's funny because Currie committed to Virginia early on. Actually, let's start with this. He ended up going to Lawrenceville to play lacrosse. Let's start there. And that ended up, I think he played his freshman year, just lacrosse, and then started playing football as a sophomore. So in 2024, and of course his past season. So he's only been playing football for 2 years. He originally committed to Virginia to play both football and lacrosse. But I think he figured out as more and more offers started to come through, to focus more on football. Currie was up at Penn State, I believe, I want to say, this past year for the Nevada game, I want to say. He'd visited previously under the previous staff and, always had a lot of interest in Penn State, but it wasn't until January when Taylor Mauser went out to his school and officially offered. He was actually really one of the first players that Mauser kind of identified throughout this process. I think it was January 14th, which is like right when, coaches started to hit the road. As I said, that 6'7", 235 size, that's the big thing here. He's got a way bigger frame, not a way bigger frame, but a bigger frame than Cooper Terwilliger. And that's kind of what they were looking for. Two different kind of bodied tight ends, right? So, Curry's certainly one of those guys that can put his hand in the dirt, block, catch, do all those kind of things where, Terwilliger certainly can do those, but not quite as big long-term projection-wise, we'll say. So that played a big role in this. He ended up picking up offers from A&M and Ohio State over the last couple of months, and those two were Penn State's primary competition. Ohio State's kind of, looking elsewhere now, so I don't know how much Ohio State was really in the mix at the end, but A&M certainly was. We thought he was going to take OVs to both A&M and Penn State, but, at the end of the day, I think his relationship with Mauser, proximity to home, all those kind of things, kind of give Currie the reason to not, drag this out any longer and decided to commit. So, Penn State has its second tight end in the class. As I said, they will continue to push for his teammate, Colt, of course, 4-star also from, the Lawrenceville School. How that plays out will be interesting. I mean, 3 tight ends is certainly a possibility in this class, but I also kind of get the vibe that 2 high school and adding somebody in the portal is more likely at the moment, but we'll find out.
It makes sense, kind of like defensive tackle, where we've talked about that previously with, kind of needing some of the bodies that can play more immediately than maybe some younger guys on the line of scrimmage.
Correct. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. Lumpers is still set to take his OV on June 5th to the 7th, so he's certainly still in the mix, but we know Mauser's really happy to have Currie and Terwilliger both on board, and we can't say that position's done because there's still guys out there, but they're happy with what they have, right? Yeah. If they don't add another high school guy, they're okay. They're content with that. But as I said, they'll keep pushing for Lumpers and see where things go.
I want to ask you the look ahead question in just a little bit, but we're going to get back to you in just 1 second. We're going to hear from today's sponsor, AJ Freedom Financial. Penn State fans know that confidence comes with having the right game plan. And when retirement is getting closer, many people have the same questions. Will my money last? Am I prepared for market volatility? Do I have a real plan for retirement and income taxes? At AJ Freedom Financial, we help pre-retirees and retirees build personalized retirement plans designed around their goals, timelines, and comfort with risk. From retirement incomes and tax-aware planning to legacy and investment strategies, we focus on helping clients move forward with greater clarity and confidence. If you'd like a second opinion on your current financial plan, or want to build a retirement strategy you can feel better about, we invite you to schedule a no-obligation meeting in Plymouth Meeting or one of our locations near you. Visit AJ Freedom Financial at www.ajffi.com or call 866-383-6899 today. That's AJ Freedom Financial at ajffi.com. AJ Freedom Financial, helping Nittany Lions fans plan for what's next.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Gradient Securities, LLC. Arden Hills, Minnesota, 866-991-1539. Member FINRA, SIPC. Gradient Securities, LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor, offers investment advisory services under the DBA of Gradient Wealth Management. Gradient Securities, LLC, and its advisors do not render tax, legal, or accounting services. Insurance products and services offered through AJ Freedom Financial. AJ Freedom Financial and Freedom Financial Insurance, LLC are not affiliated with Gradient Securities, LLC.
So I know that the roadmap right now, the timeline is a little bit wonky, and more on that here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel today, I'm thinking, but just generally over the next, you said June 5th is going to be their big official visit weekend. Can you give us the roadmap of what you're expecting over the next couple of days and a week or so before then when it comes to the rest of the class and what you see coming down the road?
For the most part, I think, the remaining guys are aiming to take those visits in 2 weeks. A few others actually will start their OVs this actual upcoming weekend. Penn State doesn't start theirs for 2 more weeks, but it'll be interesting. I mean, maybe Zamar Tukes is somebody to watch a defensive tackle, but aside from that, there's not too many guys that we're thinking could decide before then. I mean, they're at 20 commits now, right? It's kind of wild, man. What was that? 50? I think I did the math today. 55 days they had 20 commits. I mean, that's a run right there. That's
pretty good. Yeah.
To me. Yeah.
We've been busy. That's for sure.
Certainly. So there's nothing really popping up, honestly, at the moment.
Okay.
Tukes would be the guy to watch. But I'm just kind of unsure, if that's definitely coming here soon or not. He's thinking about it, but it's kind of hard to say at the moment. So, like I said, they're happy at 20. There's certainly some spots remaining, defensive line or defensive end, really, mainly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe wide receiver and safety, linebacker. Those are all kind of the key spots.
Okay. Well, normally this is where we would dive into the film analysis. We'd have a back and forth conversation a little bit about that. But we're going to do something that's a little bit old school here for the channel. People have been asking for actual film breakdowns, not to just play the highlights and tell you what I learned when I watched the full film over at their full game footage. So what I have for everybody now is a film room. We're going to be going into the good and the bad with Sean Currie here from what we see of him during his full game, not just the highlights, going beyond those here to give you an idea of what the Nittany Lions are getting with their latest commitment. So this one's not too complicated because we have a one-to-one comparison here. It's been a while since I've seen one that's like the perfect comp. We're not searching for it. For Sean Currie, it is Ben Bramer. That's who he is in this offense. He's going to be a vertical threat for Penn State and a guy that gets down the field in a bunch of different ways, but what he's doing is running in a straight line, running vertically up the seam, running a corner route, like one cut, trying to get down here and threaten different parts of the field while not asking him to make, short turns and deep digs and things like that. He's an explosive down the field weapon. And, for a 3-star tight end, a guy that maybe isn't the most explosive, doesn't have the best 40 time, might not have the best change of direction skills, he is a vertical threat. And he's going to be very good at that with his frame and his size and his straight line speed. It's Ben Bramer. That's what it is. And how they leverage him in the offense is how they're going to use that. Even I like this play. Same thing with motion. He's coming across the field to get him in man-to-man coverage, get the ID. You get a rub route here from Colt, and then you get a touchdown over here because you're asking your giant tight end to run in a straight line. So despite the fact that he's 6'7", he might be 260 by the time he's done growing, his role is going to be as the move tight end. In this particular offense, he is the tight end, so he'll line up here, and we'll see more of this in just a second. He'll line up next to the tackle. He'll line up here in the slot. They even have him at H-back, so he's got position versatility, move player at 6'7". That's what you're looking for in this particular offense, is you need to have a downfield presence. You need to have an explosive vertical threat if you're going to play with so many tight ends on the field. And that's what Taylor Mauser's looking for, is a guy that he can move around the formation. Maybe play him at X if you want to go 13 personnel and get filthy. Maybe you put him in line. Maybe you put him in the slot. He's going to be the receiving element in this offense, and his goal is to be as complete of a tight end as early as possible and to become a dominant blocker. More on that in just a second. I love it when we get a 6'7" tight end that can block in line. Hell Yeah, I mean, we don't normally get tight ends that line up in line at all. We don't normally get tight ends that line up on the line of scrimmage and block like an actual tight end on the next level. Normally, you're getting receivers that are lined up, I don't know, here and playing a completely different position with zero translatable skills to their tenacity, their ability to run block in the trenches. And here, thank you, Lawrenceville offensive coordinator, by the way, for putting him in these situations. So let's talk about the blocks he's completing and what we can learn from these. So, as we mentioned, awesome pad level at 6'7", flat back. And the thing I love about this is you can watch his first step. It's really good here. You see, again, so this is a slant. Everyone's slanting this way. But his drive, I mean, he's not poking straight up. He's not standing up and then trying to attack that guy. He's coming up with momentum and force from the ground. You can see that all the force in his legs and his feet he's getting from the ground is going into the defensive lineman, who then consequently ends up on the ground. That's how that's supposed to look. The other thing is, a lot of these blocks you're seeing here, he is the point of attack block. He's the down block or the base block here on a pull play, so he's got to win the point of attack. You're going to see the runaway freight train, right? And everyone thinks about the pullers as the most important plays on a block like this. But truthfully, you don't see a lot of times, because it's down here in the melee, this is the most important block. Making sure you get the point of attack clear. Now, again, it's a slant, but he puts that guy on his ass, and here you have two free pullers to get to the second level, and you get like a 9-yard run. Here it is in a gap scheme where he's going to come off a double team, and they got this poor defensive tackle on skates. But I love the fact that he understands how to pass off. So now the tackle takes over this block on the double team, and he gets to the second level here. The running back sees that there is no edge to the defense, and he's able to trap this linebacker inside, and he gets a seal on the outside for an explosive run. That is a coiled spring ready to strike. When he's on his game and he's doing it right, this is, I mean, you see the literal impact of these blocks being at the point of attack and doing these things with the proper technique, proper leverage, the things that translate to the next level. Here we have him out in space against a defensive back. He's going to have to do these things, by the way. Blocking in space is not the same thing as blocking an inline defensive lineman. There are different challenges, and it's harder for some guys to hit in space. Here you have, that's just, oh, that poor guy. That poor defensive back. That's rough, but that's a great block. And then here we have the last one. We have an insert block. So again, the ability to find your target at the second level and then go attack it and hit your target at the second level. That's another separate issue. Some guys struggle with maintaining contact, with getting contact at the second level and getting this block to spring the runner up the middle for a gain. He's able to do that. An example of it here. And I think it's really encouraging to see the number of places that he can block from and that he can line up in line and in the slot. We'll get to more about the consistency of that now. Okay, so not every prospect is perfect, and there's areas that all these players need to work on, and I think the biggest and clearest area for Sean Currie is I'm super encouraged by what I see from his blocking. It's just the consistency of having him do it time and time again on every single down, which for high school players is pretty reasonable and understandable. So right here, what we have is he is the base block in a pulling system. I think this is a GT counter he's got coming over here, so his job is to take this player who looks like he's head up from this angle and drive him in. They want to capture the edge and have these guys get over top so the running back can follow and run essentially downhill, right? So you got guards up on the second level on this player or out here on this player. So what happens is, as you're going to see here, he gets the block initially, but the defensive lineman sheds him outside. He resets the edge, and now the pullers, one of them has to take up the space there, and the other one is going to get washed wide. Here we have another situation at point of attack, another counter you got coming over here from the right side. He gets swum on this play, which is impressive for a dude who's 6'7" to get that low. So let's bring it in a positive here, but he just misses this block, and this player gets into the backfield to gum up the blocking on this play. Still, again, a good gain, but what you're looking for is you're looking for more at the point of contact here for your 6'7" tight end. Here we're going to have him out in space. So they're going to, on this particular play, they're going to motion the player out here into the flat. He needs to come out and get this linebacker who is coming and pursuing from inside out. And just, kind of one of those areas where he's tall, the other guy's short. I think that's part of it here. and he kind of just misses in the open field on this particular block. If that's a Division I level player, that's a tackle. But obviously, Colt is also a Division I player, so he makes up for this on this particular play. But you want a little bit better open field blocking and sustaining out in space from Sean Currie at the second level. That's kind of one of the things I think that's a theme for him, is block consistency of sustaining blocks and then hitting targets in open space. Once again, this is kind of a height thing. Again, 6'7", pulling on this counter play. He's coming out to meet this linebacker here. He comes in a little hot, comes in a little high. Needs to get better pad level here, better breaking down in space. I think he does a decent job. Like he's not coming in full speed trying to look for the highlight hit. I think he is trying to break down. Like right here, you can see him chop his feet. He needs to settle a little bit more and make good contact here. These are all the techniques and things he's going to learn when he gets to Penn State. Some of the things that, you can fix because the effort and the ability is all there. This is another one where sustaining the block, I think, is important. This is actually a good initial block. Got another counter coming in behind him. Again, remember, he's got to set the edge of the defense. He gets the player inside, but you'll see here at the very end that the defensive end fights him off and is here in the hole to make a tackle, or at least to take up another blocker and clog the point of attack. So, generally, good stuff from Sean Currie as a blocker on the highlight side. The fundamentals that you want to see are all there. It's just about consistency, down to down, winning your assignment. So we'll have more at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. By the way, you can sign up for 50% off for a year right now. You're going to see that here in just a second when we get out of here at the end of the video. But if you're listening, make sure you check out the highlights so you can see what I'm talking about. 50% off for your first year. You can join for $1 for the first week. But when it comes to Sean Currie, I'm encouraged by there are no obvious physical limitations to his growth and development. Maybe he's not the most explosive player in the world, but I think he's fast. He's not tight and tall. He doesn't play tall for being as tall as he is. So really the question is just how much can his frame handle? How soon can his frame handle that? And, how soon can he pick up on all the details of what we just talked about? Some of the other things we'll get into in his film evaluation on the site, but I think that's a really good initial introduction to Sean Currie and what he can be, because you're going to see what he can be, what they want him to be in the fall when we get to see Ben Bramer in this particular offense, which of course we got breakdowns of that over on the site as well from his time at Iowa State. So that'll do it for now, but don't go too far because it is a holiday weekend. Ryan had to get going, but we've got more videos coming up as far as I can tell. We're going to have some more stuff for you here for a holiday weekend. So enjoy yourself, have some hot dogs, and we'll be talking more about Penn State football and Penn State football players joining the program here when news breaks on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel.